Today on CityCast Nashville, Climb Gym's GM Lark Hodges joins us to share a guide to climbing in and around Nashville. From getting started at an indoor gym to taking advantage of the cooler temps for outdoor routes, Lark is here with tips for seasoned climbers and total beginners, too. It's Wednesday, September 24th. I'm your producer, Daniel Sumstein, and this is what Nashville's talking about. I would love to hear about your favorite climb of all time, whether that's indoors or outdoors. Like, set the scene for us and help our listeners understand why you fell in love with climbing in the first place.
My favorite climb that I've done outdoors has to be the Boulder Problem 711 at Pep Boys in Chattanooga. When you drive up to Pep Boys, you'll kind of like park in this little parking lot, walk down this little trail. You're bouldering, so you're carrying your crash pad, which is basically this big mattress-looking thing on your back, so you look really silly. Walking in, there's this beautiful clearing on your way into the boulder field where you can kind of like look out and see all the different like mountains and ridge lines that Chattanooga has. And then you kind of drop down into a river basin. And as you start walking down, you see just all of these huge boulders that just look like they've been like dropped out of the sky in this space. And 711 specifically is this like small, completely horizontal roof climb tucked right next to the river. So if the river is too high, it's actually kind of hard to access it because like the bottom of it is underwater. But when you come up to that boulder, because it's a roof climb, so where you start is again, like fully horizontal, it's sheltered from the elements. So all of the chalk that climbers use to create better friction between their hands and the holds hasn't really washed off. So you can just see that this is a boulder that climbers get on all the time. And you can see these like beautiful like sections of rock that are just white from climbers grabbing it with chalky hands and kind of like pick out this path that starts on a kind of bigger chunky piece sticking off the roof, and then just these tiny little like cracks that you follow with your fingers and climb out through that section and then over the top of the boulder to stand on top of it. And that Boulder Problem is just so magical and so fun, and it has all of my favorite climbing movement in it. And I was really excited to climb that.
For listeners who are completely new to climbing, how does your gym Climb Nashville work? Can I come without a partner? Will I feel comfortable on my first day? And do I need to bring my own gear?
I think that's part of what keeps people from trying climbing for the first time, right? Because you're sitting at home and maybe watching it on the Olympics and you're like, that looks so cool, but it also looks very intimidating. And I have never done anything like that before. And that's the great news about coming to an indoor climbing facility like Climb Nashville West, is that we've taken climbing that is typically harder to access outside and brought it to a space and reduced the barrier for entry as much as possible. So kind of what to expect when you come climbing for the first time are you don't need to bring anyone, although if you grab a couple of your closest friends, that's always a great idea too. We don't have any age restrictions either. We've had climbers as young as 2 or 3 years old in our gyms, and we have members who are in their mid-70s who have been climbing for 20 years, and a couple of members in their 60s who have kind of just gotten into climbing, which I love. That's one of my favorite things about climbing, is what a wide variety of people get into it. What we typically will do is we'll take our new climbers through a 20 to 30 minute orientation process when they first come to our gym. All of that is going to be included in your normal day pass, or if you purchase a 5-visit pass or a membership with us, because you know you're going to get super into climbing and it's going to be your new sport. And we'll walk you through all of the different types of climbing we offer in our gym, how to access those, and different avenues for getting training for more advanced types of climbing down the line, if that's something they want to do.
So if I come without a friend, who holds the rope?
That's a great question. So for your listeners who may not be aware of the different types of climbing that there are, we have 4 different options at our Climb Nashville West location. So we have bouldering, auto belays, top rope, and lead climbing. There are two types of climbing that require you to have a belay partner. That's that person who holds the other side of the rope and keeps you safe while you're on the wall. And those are going to be lead and top rope climbing. If you do come on your own and want to still climb, we have those other two types of climbing that you can try. So we have auto belays, which are on our high walls. They're really cool devices that you clip into, and then when you're ready to come down, you just let go of the wall and they'll slowly lower you to the ground. And then we also have bouldering, which is done on shorter walls over thicker pads, so you don't need a partner at all. And we do offer that type of climbing specifically at two other locations in Nashville, our Climb Nashville East and Climb Craft locations in the Berry Hill area.
I know when you are walking up to a route, there's different colors and different numbers. What do the different numbers mean and different route types?
When you walk up to one of our walls at Climb, you're going to see different tags at the bottom of the walls. Those tags will typically have a color on them that corresponds to the color of the holds on the wall. So that's how you'll know, okay, this tag belongs to this route. On that tag, you'll see a number on our high walls. That number is always going to start with the number 5 and then have a decimal point. And what that 5 is indicating is that this type of climbing is done on a vertical wall and should have a rope safety system in place while you're using it in case of a fall. That's called the Yosemite Decimal System. It's how climbers in the United States developed a grading system in the Yosemite Valley back when climbing was kind of first being built as a sport in the US. The number after that decimal point is going to be where you figure out how hard it is. So you'll see numbers from 5.5 all the way up through 513, typically at Climb. 5.5 through 5.8 is a great range for newer climbers to start out on. Once you get into 5.9 to 5.10, you tend to get into more intermediate climbing. And then as you go up from there, it's going to get progressively harder.
Is climbing safe for kids? I feel like I've seen a bunch of different birthday parties there.
I think climbing is fantastic for kids. To start, I actually started working at Climb Nashville very part-time as a coach. So that's where a lot of my passion around climbing comes from, is getting to share that and develop that, both like love of the sport and skill in new climbers. So in terms of safety and risk management, we do everything that we possibly can to minimize risks involved with climbing. Obviously, climbing 20 feet up a wall, there are risks to be aware of. And that's part of the safety equipment we use at our facilities, our regular inspections of that equipment, and our orientations and certification process for folks who come into our gym. So all of those things are where we make climbing as safe as possible for those who come into our facilities.
I got into climbing right around like COVID time, and I was immediately drawn to the community of climbing. It's such a supportive sport. It's both like you can be in your own space, but you have someone at the bottom encouraging you and always pushing you to be the best version of yourself. How have you seen the Nashville climbing community grow or evolve in recent years?
I got into climbing in the spring of 2017 and definitely like weathered the COVID crisis where we couldn't climb for a little bit, and then we were climbing in masks. And kind of coming out of COVID, we actually saw a ton of people come in to explore climbing the first time. I think that was a pretty common experience coming out of COVID. Everyone was looking for a new way to kind of engage with their bodies and movement and just find new passions and change trajectories of their life or things they're trying. So climbing naturally came up as a really fun sport to experiment with. And at the same time, climbing was hitting the Olympic scene for the first time. So that definitely had an impact as well. I think the really cool things that we've seen in the climbing community over the past 10 years are really the changes in people coming into the gym. So we're seeing a lot more families, new climbers, people who have never tried climbing or really heard of climbing before feel like this is a sport they can try out and access and become a practitioner of and connect with others through as well.
Do you think Climb Nashville's community is unique compared to other fitness or recreation communities in the city?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think climbing brings together people of all different like ages, athletic backgrounds, life experiences, and really unifies them through this like arguably silly sport where we're like, we just want to, get as high up a wall as we can on these colorful plastic holds. And so there's this like playfulness, I think, inherent in the sport of climbing. It gives you permission to fail, to look silly, to try again, and also to just connect with people around you. Climbing's very social. If you come into one of our gyms on a weeknight, you'll see lots of people walking around, talking to each other, smiling, greeting each other. And that for me has been one of the most influential things about rock climbing in general, but especially about the Climb Nashville community, is that this community is a space you can walk into and be welcomed exactly as you are, exactly where you're at with climbing, with, I think, very little gatekeeping or pressure to have to come in with certain knowledge or skills or abilities.
I recently watched an incredible documentary called Memphis to the Mountain. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but it basically chronicles the story of young climbers down in South Memphis, and climbing has really become a source of community for its residents. So how does your gym approach creating that same sense of transformation and belonging for people who might not traditionally see themselves as climbers?
I haven't seen that documentary yet, but I really want to. Memphis Rocks, the climbing gym that is shown in that documentary, is incredible, and we love to see what they're doing over there and support them as we can as well. In terms of what we do at Climb Nashville to really support folks who are coming into our front doors for the first time, is again trying to lower that barrier for entry as much as possible. At Climb, we bundle all of our climbing gear into the cost of a normal day pass, so you don't need to pay additionally on top of that. You also don't need any gear in order to get started. We've also done a lot of stuff in our own facilities to remove essentially like as much technical skill as possible from your first experience on the wall. So we've have pre-installed belay devices on our ropes. We don't require anyone to learn a figure eight follow-through knot in order to get clipped into our top rope routes. And we offer all of our belay lessons for free. A lot of other gyms will charge for those things. Additionally, we try to host fun community nights and just be a source of belonging for our members and guests in our facilities.
I love that. And I love that when you do become a member, you all offer guest passes too. So it's a great way to just get your friends involved and show them like the amazing community that exists there. We're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, I want to talk about Nashville's outdoor climbing scene and kind of what's available around us.
Learning a new language opens the door to new friends, new cultures, maybe even a whole new life. So why not start that journey today? I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and I'm learning Spanish with Babbel. Babbel's conversation-based technique quickly teaches you useful words and phrases about the things you actually talk about in the real world. I've been practicing my Spanish with Babbel's AI conversation partner. I can choose my conversation topic and have a real-time dialogue. It's great at helping me think on my feet, and it's improving my pronunciation. Also, it's really easy to do anytime on my phone using Babbel's excellent mobile app. It's just one of the many fantastic Babbel tools for learning. Plus, Babbel has a real-time feedback, progress trackers, and handy visualizations, all of which make it really easy to stay motivated to learn. I want you to learn another language. So CityCast is teaming up with Babbel to gift you 55% off subscriptions, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/citycast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/citycast. Spelled BABBEL.com/citycast. Babbel.com/citycast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
I know that a lot of our local climbing scene is mostly indoors, but what are some of the best outdoor climbing spots within driving distance?
Probably the three closest and most well-known climbing spaces close to Nashville are going to be Kings Bluff, which is a sport climbing crag in Clarksville. It's pretty well developed. You'll see climbers out there all the time of all different experience levels. And it's also very readily accessible on Mountain Project. If you've ever used that online resource, you can look up like different outdoor routes and see like what difficulty levels are out there. probably next closest one is going to be Foster Falls, and that's in Jasper, Tennessee. It also offers a ton of sport climbing. Additionally, it has a bunch of waterfalls and beautiful water features, so it can be a really fun option even in like early summer when a lot of people are kind of out of their climbing season, if you still want to get outside and then also go swimming in the meantime. And then the other one that is about an hour and 45 minutes away is going to be the Obed. It's located in the Obed Wild and Scenic River National Park, and it offers both sport climbing and bouldering. It has a really incredible just array of climbing, and it's probably some of our best climbing in the Southeast.
What advice would you give to a gym climber who feels like they've got, strong indoor skills, but they're nervous about making the leap to their first outdoor climb?
I think a lot of it is prioritizing, talking with other climbers in the gym who have outdoor experience. Like I said, climbing is a very social and welcoming community. So if you go up to someone and say, hey, I want to know more about what it takes to get outside, they'll talk your ear off. It's not an inconvenience. We love to share this with people. You'll frequently get invited on outdoor trips as well. One of the things that I would recommend before doing your first outdoor trip is to kind of look at bouldering and look at sport climbing and decide which avenue maybe makes more sense for your first trip. Bouldering tends to be a slightly more accessible first outdoor trip for folks just because there's fewer things you need to know in order to manage your safety systems. You really need your own climbing shoes, chalk, a crash pad, and hopefully some friends to maybe like pull that crash pad around with you when you're outside. A guidebook can also be super helpful. And for a lot of that bouldering, like I said, the Obed is a great option. We also have a ton of bouldering options in Chattanooga, as well as a ton of other outdoor climbing crags down there. And if you're interested in looking at all of those, going on the Southeastern Climbers Coalition website, they'll have like all of our crags throughout Tennessee listed out for easy access. If sport climbing is what you want to do, there's definitely a little more that you either need to know to do it, or you need to find a friend who knows what they're doing and go with them. We're happy to try to connect people as much as we can here as well. Like I said, climbers love to bring new climbers outside. There are some really great resources through the American Mountain Guides Association or the American Alpine Institute as well that can kind of talk you through some things you might want to know for your first outdoor climbing trip, or some good information to look at to be able to assess, does the person that I'm going with seem to be checking these different categories that they should in order for me to be safe while I'm with them. In order to sport climb, having lead climbing experience is great. It's not necessary, but that is something that we teach at Climb. We offer lead climbing clinics, and that's just a different type of climbing where instead of the rope already being at the top of the wall, you're taking the rope up and clipping it into pieces of protection as you go. And that's typically what you're going to run into if you go sport climbing outside.
Can you tell me about Climb Nashville's partnership with the Southeastern Climbers Coalition?
We love the Southeastern Climbers Coalition. They're an incredible nonprofit organization that manages our outdoor climbing spaces throughout the Southeast. So not just in Nashville or Tennessee, but the entire Southeast of the United States. So they're doing a ton of work to manage our outdoor climbing spaces by working with local land management companies, raising money to purchase and develop climbing areas from local landowners and things like that. So we are grateful to just be a small part of their much larger story. We typically will partner with the SCC for different events. You'll frequently see them tabling at different events that we host, whether that's our Hotter Than Chicken bouldering competition that we just had at Climbcraft in August, or more community-based events. In the spring, we did a Gym to Crag class with them and are hoping to have them back for another class similar to that, where they can take climbers through some of those questions that you asked about. What should I expect if I go outside? What kind of like outdoor climbing etiquette might I want to be aware of? What different outdoor climbing crags are available to me? How do I get connected with outdoor climbers in order to, get outside as someone who's never done it before. We also had a chance to partner with them to host a fundraiser for the SCC with Arc'teryx this summer, which was so fun. We tossed out so much gear and raffled off a ton of prizes and raised a bunch of money for the SCC, which was great. And then we also try to promote the SCC when they're doing their own membership drives as well. Being a member through them helps to support those ongoing works with landowners and land management companies, and also to improve just outdoor areas in general. They'll host trail days, which we try to also advertise on our own community boards in the gym and get our climbing community inside connected with the broader outdoor climbing community.
Thank you so much for chatting with us today. I hope our listeners, after hearing this conversation, are wanting to go check out Climb. The community that exists in Climb is so special. So thank you for helping to create that community, Lark, and thank you for taking the time to chat with us today.
Yeah, Daniel, thanks again for having me. I just encourage your listeners, if y'all are curious about climbing, come out, just try it. It's an amazing sport. And whether it's something you do just one time as a fun event with friends, or whether it's something you fall in love with, it's absolutely worth it. And Climb Nashville is a supportive and amazing place to give it a try.
That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Later.